We've picked up some equipment here and there. Again, everything has been refined, everything's been gone through, everything's been serviced and put back together, so everything's fresh. Ultimately, we're going to end up with a brand new race boat. Even though it's not a brand new race boat, everything has been redone, completely serviced, and put back in the boat as far as the engines and gearboxes and things like that. Again, everything has been completely taken apart, put back together, and it's fresh. I think it'll be a little interesting to see how some of the other drivers are going to react to it that maybe haven't run Fight for Lanes in a long time. And then, you're going to take all that and you're going to put it on a really small race course. So it's going to be busy, and it's, who knows what's going to happen. Anything can happen. There's going to be two parts to every heat and every race. There's going to be the race before the race, and there's going to be the actual race itself. It's going to be hard on the drivers. I think it's going to be hard on the officials too, to make calls if need be. So it's going to be interesting all the way around. Say certain people, they got to have lane one. That's the lane they got to have, and nobody's going to take it from them, and that's fine and great. Lane one's a great place to be, but if you can only win from lane one, then that doesn't give you a whole lot of options other times, because you have, in a final heat, 6 or 7 other boats fighting for the same place. You're not going to get it every time. It's not going to happen, especially at this level. I believe the sport is moving to a whole new level, absolutely. I think the competition is huge compared to what it used to be. Back in the old days for me, you had Budweiser and Circus, and then you had Budweiser and Winston Eagle, and then Budweiser and Close Call, and then Budweiser and Pico. It was always 1 or 2 boats. There wasn't 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 that would go out, and you just think, God, I couldn't tell you who's going to win this heat. And there's some weighted options there as far as who may have a better team and a better boat and who's faster than who. But by putting the Fight for Lanes back into effect, that evens the playing field a little bit. And as we progress forward into some of these new sponsors and new people supporting teams coming in, that also boosts teams as far as their competitiveness and how they're going to run towards the other boats. We need younger people to be involved and to come check this stuff out. And then we need that younger fan base, which hopefully the things that are happening this year will bring in. So there's going to be some boat-to-boat contact this year. I believe that that's going to happen. And that's part of the race, and the crews are aware of it, and the crews are going to fix it, and we're going to go out and go do it again. And that's going to be the season, so it's going to be very, very exciting for everybody. Who am I more likely to have boat-to-boat contact with? That's a hard one to answer. I would say any of the younger generation, because especially J. Michael and Jeff, we're all buddies for the most part. We all care about each other and care about their well-being. But growing up racing in the inboard ranks, those are who we raced hard with. Those are the people that we grew up racing with. We know what their driving style is and how they're going to act on the race course. Kip Brown is involved in this too. We all grew up racing against each other and with each other. So it's maybe a little more tooth and nail between the younger guys. But I think also the older guys have that same thing going too between Steve, David, and Dave Ilbach. They're kind of in the same boat. They're the veterans. They're, at the similar levels in their career, and they're going to be fighting against each other. But at the same time, through the course of the season, something may happen where you might get a little bit of a grudge between this other person that you didn't ever expect to have a grudge with. And so it's real hard to say what's going to happen as far as who's going to have boat-to-boat contact and who's going to have feuds and what's going to happen. I think the first race there in Madison is going to tell a lot, because there's going to be some stuff that happens there that is going to carry through the rest of the season. Chip did a deal on dry land boat racing. It was a series or a little segment that they did at Seafair, and where I believe it was even Dave and Chip. In a sense, it was all in fun, but tried to psych each other out, on this little segment. But that's reality. That really happens. Maybe not to the way that they did it on that little segment, but trying drivers are going to do things. They're going to say things on the race course. They're going to act a certain way to a driver, to their competitor, that maybe they wouldn't do if they didn't have to go out and fight for lanes. They didn't have to go out and fight for their position on the race course. So it's going to be very interesting to see how people react to one another on the land, things that are said, things that aren't said, to make somebody believe something that maybe isn't true. You never know. It's interesting how all that stuff works, and the more competitive people are, the more that whole thing happens. So it'll be interesting to see, and people are going to pick. There's going to be all these little feuds going on between drivers that are competitive, so it's going to be fun.